Stanford neurobiologist and amateur Hammurabi impersonator Robert Sapolsky has been tearing up the news cycle. In his new book, Determined, A Science of Life Without Free Will, he suggests that virtually every human action is beyond our control. According to the LA Times, Sapolsky says, "We've got no free will. Stop attributing stuff to us that isn't there." Going beyond even Richard Dawkins' selfish gene theory, Sapolsky's research indicates that neurochemistry determines human behaviors based on centuries of biochemical interactions leading to a specific moment in time. Like ordering a corned beef on rye with a smear of chopped liver, a Diana Ross to New York City stage deli aficionados, or if you're from Chicago, 50 Ways to Leave Your Liver from Kaplan's. Much of what Sapolsky says is biologically valid. Think about urges. I've always had sort of instant and relatively unexplainable food urges. On the road, my bandmates teased me because I just suddenly want a tuna fish sandwich or baked ravioli or some such thing. Baked ravioli actually does sound pretty good. The band laughed at me, but we found some darn good restaurants because of my cravings. How's that for determinism? Right now, I'm determined to find that corned beef on rye with chopped liver. As with Dawkins before him, I agree with Sapolsky's underlying notion that evolutionary biological processes influence us more powerfully and unconsciously than we presently comprehend. I do not think, however, that those processes are so potent that they control our lives and determine, which shoes we'll wear to work or whether or not we'll marry and have any kids. I mean, that's quite a leap. While we are complex biological machines, we are not automatons, no matter how intensely the subatomic core of our genetic makeup screams for attention. However, it's plausible that decisions shift us between deterministic realities, the way a train changes tracks at a switch, for example. I mean, if we live in a multiverse, is it probable that each life track, every reality, is as deterministic as a subway ride? If our only choices are not real choices, but merely the appearance of choosing between tracks to different destinations, what makes us different from the AI we're now creating? Are we merely an advanced artificial intelligence who thinks we're making decisions, but are instead simply acting out a series of if-then celestial programming statements? I mean, did our species begin as some other entity's ChatGPT experiment? I have to ask, how is believing in a God that is an external intelligent life form and us as its creation any different from worshiping AI, which is already happening? My understanding of God is different. I know God as the entire universe, conscious, part of every possible thread of every infinite parallel life, enjoying the evolving ride. While humans only experience an artificially linear reality, God experiences all realities simultaneously in a time-space continuum of always now. Are those realities deterministic? In the many worlds cosmology, there are realities in which I'm not writing or preaching at all, but instead I'm a baker. There are realities in which I'm homeless. There's a reality where I found my Diana Ross sandwich at a still extant stage deli across from Carnegie Hall. There is also a universe in which I pick up that overstuffed, dripping with deliciousness corned beef on rye with a chopped liver schmear. I drop the ever-elusive mouthful on the ground or it falls all over my white shirt. And there's another where I enjoy every last bite. And there are an infinite number of subtly different realities between those two extremes, all happening right now in a continuously evolving conscious universe. I think the evidence for multiple realities is robust. Still, while any singular reality might be predetermined, no human life ever travels through a single reality anyway. Our lives are complex interconnections of various realities, and the threads that we travel depend on the decisions we make every day, even the unconscious ones. My singular perception of life's infinite possibilities is limited to this thread, but the conscious universe, God, lives every life in parallel. Perhaps, as Sapolsky and others suggest, each thread is deterministic. If I choose X, then Y will happen the same way every time on this timeline. But even if that's the case, I am making the decisions, even if I is a conglomeration of cells cooperating and competing for survival. What is the self, anyway, other than an imaginary description of a physical and psychological point in the eternity of universal consciousness? We've debated free will for thousands of years, and philosophers generally concur that humans and many other species exhibit autonomy over their surroundings and make decisions for the good or ill of their environments. One of the first references to free will in any ancient literature is in Leviticus chapter 22, verses 18 and 19. Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites and say to them, if any of you, whether an Israelite or a foreigner residing in Israel, presents a gift for a burnt offering to the Lord, either to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, you must present a male without defect from the cattle, sheep, or goats in order that it may be accepted on your behalf. Apparently God was very, very picky about offerings 4,000 years ago, but the authors still view them as something one does of their own volition. It's a free will offering. In Deuteronomy, God grants humans the ability to choose between life and death, right and wrong, whatever those value judgments mean. But in chapter 30, verse 19, we read, this day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. Choose life. So are we in control of our actions? Or can we not help anything we do? The ancient Semitic authors of Deuteronomy believed God gives humans the power of choice. For them, God perhaps knows our decisions in advance, but we are still free to choose our own path. And I have to tell you, I sort of agree with their both and attitude, that we are host to various biochemical and molecular processes influencing our behavior is undeniable. But so is our ability to interfere with them. We don't get hangry for no reason. It's a physiological reaction to our selfish genes screaming for nourishment. At the same time, I have enough control to recognize the cause of my hangriness, which, to me, implies I'm something more than purely a reactive automaton. Although Sapolsky would argue that even that line of thinking is predetermined. I agree that tens of thousands of years of evolution and an interconnected hive of humanity we're just understanding directly influence our everyday actions. But it's a stretch to claim that powers beyond us control all human activity. I mean, we tend to scoff when religious people suggest as much about God. So it seems appropriate we also take a scientific claim to determinism with a big grain of salt. God is in all of our experiences because God is the entangling quantum in the molecular biology of our being. The conscious universe is emoting with me through all of my parallel lives. So, frankly, I don't really care whether or not I'm autonomous or automatic. I mean, I get a kick out of the ride, man, and either way, I get a sandwich. Amen. Our question today, how much, if any, free will do you think humans possess? How much, if any, free will do you think humans possess? And consider this, your answer might already be determined. So I'll send you into breakout rooms for about